I think what really what I see most people struggling with profit is, and not even if they don't struggle with the concept, yeah, I want to make a profit, but more so the action of implementing the practices to be able to be a more profitable business. It's not just the fixed pie. It's not just the subjective purposes outweighing the objective purposes of business. I think for most people, there's really limiting beliefs in what they're capable of and what they deserve that hold them back from increasing prices, from seeking to get more profit, and really being okay with serving their self-interests innately. And that's what I see the most. I think for most people, there's a hesitation to increase prices because they worry about the risks associated with it. But there's also an aspect of like the limiting beliefs around their goals for money, right? Like if they have a goal of, hey, I want to profit $200,000 this year. Well, if there was an opportunity to make $1 million in profit that year for them, they wouldn't even be looking at it. They'd be almost blind to it because they're so focused on the 200,000 number. Yeah. And 1 million seems outlandish. It seems impossible, but also what would I even do with that money? And I think whenever you start to see things a little bit differently and open your mind to, wait, I can run an extremely profitable business. I can be making hundreds of $1,000,000 a year. And you open yourself up to that mentally, then you can start to picture it happening in your business. You can start to actually set your business up to operate in that way, and set your pricing and cut your expenses and all those different things that allow you to reach higher levels of profit. But whenever we're not even thinking it's possible or even accepting as an option, then we limit ourselves. And another aspect of that is, I think for a lot of business owners, they price themselves based on costs and not based on value. And that's one thing that limits profit immediately. Because if you're just looking at, okay, well, it costs this much, I'll mark it up. You're not actually looking at what the market will bear. You're not looking at what value you're actually bringing to a customer that they'd be willing to pay for. And so you limit yourself in terms of profit right there.
I have an example in my book of that. I said, if you found a 4-carat perfect diamond ring in the street, couldn't find the owner, but you found it, would you sell it for pennies because the acquisition cost was low? Of course not. You might sell it for less than it's completely worth, but you're going to make a bundle off of that thing. Yeah. And I want to jump back to two things that you said. Really, you used the word innately, and it brings to mind something we talked about before we got on. Everybody has to make a profit, even people who aren't in business. And people who, an employee, if it costs more to go to work than you earn when you get there, you will quit going to work. Even if you want to keep going, you will quit going to work. You have to cover your costs and plus more to support your lifestyle or your family and your home and your life. So everybody makes a profit, or should. They can't survive. Well, they make the profit, and if they don't, they're living off the profit somebody else made, whether it comes from the government or charity or whatever else. So that's one thing. And I do want to touch again on the fixed pie thing. There's a book out, and I recommend wholeheartedly that people read it. It's called Super Abundance. It's an easy book to read, but it is Nobel Prize winning type material by a couple of PhDs. And I won't go into depth of how they measure this, but a fixed pie theory is that fixed size pie, somebody gets a bigger piece, somebody has to take a smaller one. Abundance is when, as the population grows and there are more people, the pie gets bigger, so everybody can continue to go and everybody still get the same slice pie. Superabundance is when the pie grows exponentially bigger than the population. And that's where we are. And that would be a whole podcast for me to talk about why that is. But it's a data-driven book. It's a very important book. And when you start thinking about it, You read it. For example, there's more oil available to us today than there was 25 years ago.
Right, because of the
Whether you like
horizontal
fossil
drilling.
fuels or not, there just is. And one example they use is the time cost of light, right? In the 1800s, it would take 6 hours to get 1 candle hour of light. 6 hours of work to buy 1 candle to get 1 candle hour of light after dark. In other words, the common person could not afford any light after the sun went down. It is now, I don't know, in the 1800s in the kerosene lamps, it was down to like 2 hours to pay, to earn enough to pay for an hour of 1 lumen of light. Today, it is a millisecond.
Yeah. It's
Light
crazy.
is more abundant and costs us less, even though, I mean, it's those kinds of gains that come from the division of labor and specialization where everybody gets better and better that's made us the only species ever in the history of the world to become more prosperous as it becomes more abundant. And that's the innovation that's in our brains.